Number 10. Jay Garrick. He made his first debut back in Flash Comics issue 1. He was the first Flash, so we figured we gotta start with him. He rocks the blue pants and the red top with a lightning bolt. Classic look, but the thing that stands out the most with Jay is probably his winged hat, Hermes' helmet. He's got super speed and pinpoint accuracy with a helmet. He'll throw a helmet at your kneecaps if he can't catch you. This dude is a badass. He wasn't on a god level like some of these other versions that I'll mention, but he could run at the speed of sound, which back in the 40s, that was quite impressive. Jay went to Midwestern University in Keystone City, majoring in both chemistry and physics, but when an experiment to purify water went south, these fumes knocked him out for a whole week. During that beauty sleep, Jay's body rejected nutrients and his metabolism increased greatly. When he did finally wake up, his new powers got him a spot on the Justice Society of America while remaining a scientist. He's getting it done, heroic way and in the nerdy way. We love him. Number 9. Barry Allen. One of the most popular versions of the Flash, of course, has got to be Barry Allen. He made his first appearance in Showcase issue 4. When he was just a child, his mother was sadly killed and his father was convicted of the crime. Barry was so determined to prove his father's innocence, so he went to school at Sun City University, receiving a major in organic chemistry and a minor in criminology. As an adult, he moved to a Central City apartment and began dating Iris West, a reporter from Picture News. An electrical storm hit one night when Barry was working on an experiment when a bolt of lightning hit him while shattering a cabinet full of chemicals. Now this resulted in Barry being now the fastest man alive, and he tried to hail a taxi, but when he ran after it, he was much further than he intended on going. Pretty sweet discovery. He used his power to save Iris West from a stray bullet, and after that point he knew he had to do more. The first villain Barry ever went toe-to-toe with, ironically, was the Turtle Man. Barry wasn't used to controlling these speeds yet, so he would just keep whizzing by him in random directions. It was actually pretty stressful. The Turtle guy did not bad. Slowest guy on Earth versus the fastest guy on Earth, and somehow it came close. He was in a rowboat and he's like, "You can't catch me, Barry." He's like, "I can." And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, that would be awesome. It helps us out so much here on the channel. You guys are the best. Now let's get right back to this list. Number 8. Wally West. So after Barry Allen sacrificed his life in the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline back in 1985, it was Wally West who stepped up to take on the Flash mantle next. He popped up for the first time in the Flash issue 110. He was born in Blue Valley, Nebraska, and he grew up daydreaming about being the Flash one day. So when his Aunt Iris was dating Barry Allen, like the Flash that he dreamt of being, it was like a dream come true. It was like meeting your idol. He was in Barry's apartment and the chemical cabinet was the exact same as how when Barry got his powers, so Wally just had to ask about it. Well, it turns out the weather was also the exact same on this night because Wally wished that he would become the Flash, and it happened. Lightning hit, creating another speedster. That's pretty encouraging. I'm just gonna go hang out near my medicine cabinet next time there's a storm. Just wait. Number 7. Leah Nelson. Earth 9's version of the Flash is one of the most powerful and popular. Double whammy. She's actually the second most recognized person on the planet, despite traveling at blink and you'll miss it speeds. She made her first appearance in Tangent Comics Flash issue 1 back in 1997, created by Dan Jurgens, Todd DeGazzo, and Gary Frank. Now, Leah was famous since birth, not because of her whole abilities, but because her parents were the first astronauts to go on the Jupiter mission. Once Leah grew up and learned how to control these abilities, she took on the alias The Flash, but still wasn't sure if she was loved by the public because of her abilities or just because of who her parents are. Kind of like a Kardashian. She joined the Secret Six later on, but her main goal was to get rid of that world's Harvey Dent, aka Evil Superman. She even got Wally West to help join the fight in Tangent's Superman Reign issue 1. Leah is made of light, like literally she could control and manipulate light, but perhaps one of the best features is that she's an amazing actor. Like that would definitely come in handy. During Countdown Arena issue 1, Leah pretended to be a damsel in distress to manipulate Jay Garrick of Earth 2. So many skills. I love it. Number 6. Kingdom Come Flash. On our last list, we were breaking down 10 different versions of Superman, so if you haven't checked that out, do so after this video. It should be somewhere over there. But in it, of course, we mentioned the Kingdom Come storyline. In the Flash of Earth 22, Wally West was the father of Kid Flash and a member of the Justice League. So after Superman had retired, he took his job into overdrive. He was sprinting crime scene to crime scene, just a constant force. You couldn't even have a conversation with the guy. He was that busy. Lots to do now that Soups is gone. I mean, more than fair. The Kingdom Come storyline is one of the most compelling for our characters, especially because the Flash couldn't stop. He didn't have a choice to retire. He had a daughter in this reality as well, named Kid Flash, so he was busy. Number 5. Zoom. Making his first appearance in the Flash Secret Files Origins issue 3, Hunter Zolomon, aka Zoom, believed himself to be the true Flash. He was the main enemy of Wally West's Flash, and he took his name and appearance from the original Reverse Flash. Now, it all began when he was injured in an attack from Gorilla Grodd. He was left paralyzed from the waist down, so he asked Wally West if he could, use the cosmic treadmill and maybe go back in time and prevent that horrible life-altering event to take place, something like that. But it's not that easy. Wally said he couldn't do it because you can't risk the time stream. But Hunter was so desperate, he broke into the museum and tried to use the treadmill, but this resulted in an explosion that gave him super speed. Going of course by the name Zoom, he believed that Wally West declined to help out because he never experienced loss. He had no idea what he was talking about, I guess. So Hunter took it upon himself to take out Linda Park, Wally's wife. What a horrible way to teach a life lesson. And then in the Flash issue 200, Wally West uses his powers to freeze Zoom and make him repeat the worst day of his life over and over. That's honestly a pretty messed up thing to do, Wally. I mean, it's not very heroic, but we get it. You kind of sound like a villain though. I mean, someone repeating the worst day of their life? Jesus, dude. Just ground them. Make them bored. Number 4, Avery Ho. One of the leading members of the Justice League of China, Avery Ho's Flash made her first appearance in the Flash Volume 5, Issue 3. She got her powers through the Speed Force storm of Central City, and at first she didn't have much control over them at all. She would just constantly vibrate, which sounds like a headache. It sounds like a nightmare, not being able to stop vibrating. Oh my god. She was visited by Barry Allen though, and he taught her how to control that vibrating problem, and then later on, she was brought to Dewan's Speed Force Academy to learn even more. When an unknown speedster was killing the current speedsters, Avery was able to warn Barry, and in the end she was one of the lucky ones who got to retain her powers while dealing with GODSPEED, who I'll explain later on. Number 3, Black Flash. Making its haunting first appearance in the Flash Volume 2, Issue 138, the Black Flash was said to be seen right before the deaths of Barry Allen and Johnny Quick. Max Mercury had a close call with death, so he too saw it. It's literally the personification of death, and at first it came for Wally West, but instead it took his girlfriend Linda Park into the Speed Force. When it later returned, Wally had backup this time. The only ones that could help were the ones connected to the Speed Force, like Jay Garrick, Max Mercury, Jesse Quick, so on and Danforth. They all joined the battle, and finally Wally was able to defeat the Black Flash. Wally raced it to the end of time to do so. He raced it to a place where death had no meaning, so in turn it just dissipated. Now the title Black Flash was also used when Professor Zoom was in his Black Lantern form. Little fun fact. Number 2, Red Death. An evil fusion of Batman and the Flash. Say no more. Batman was the hero of Gotham City. He had his Robins, the usual story, but slowly as his sidekicks were biting the bullet, Bruce Wayne wanted more power to prevent the next one from happening. But he felt like still he wasn't fast enough. He felt like if he had the Flash's power, he could have done a better job. So he tried. He took out every Flash villain, he took all their weapons, and he used it to fight Barry Allen. Batman used his Batmobile and merged it with the cosmic treadmill, absorbing his powers, and then the Red Death was born. Now at this point, the Red Death was totally fine with killing. And even worse, he was okay with Barry's consciousness living inside of him, telling him to stop. Man, I thought having a song stuck in your head was bad. Imagine Barry Allen. It'd be a nightmare. And finally, number 1, Future Flash. The Flash from the Out of Time storyline made his first appearance, last appearance, I guess, in the Flash Volume 4, Issue 30. Now we're talking 20 years into the future, and at this point Barry witnessed the death of Wally West and he felt guilt. He used his powers to go back in time and kill every enemy that was somehow involved in the path leading there. He does this, but eventually he comes into contact with himself, present day Barry Allen. And then Wally also shows up to stop this dark future Barry, so it's one of those weird ones. It's one of those storylines where Future Flash was actually always responsible for the death of Wally 20 years later. You can't change fate, no matter how fast you can run.
And at 10, Black Flash. The embodiment of death for all speedsters, Black Flash is the Grim Reaper of the Speed Force. Making his first appearance in the Flash Volume 2, number 138 in 1998, he was seen before the deaths of several speedsters including Barry Allen, Johnny Quick, and Bart Allen. He also tried to return Wally West to the Speed Force, however was unsuccessful, taking Linda Park instead, Wally's girlfriend, which I have to admit is a pretty big bummer. Since he was unsuccessful the first time, Black Flash then returned to try to claim Wally again, freezing freezing time for everyone without a connection to the Speed Force. But thanks to the combined efforts of multiple speedsters including Jesse Quick, Jay Garrick, and Max Mercury, Wally was able to race Black Flash to the end of time, causing death to have no meaning, defeating the zombie speedster instantly. I mean, I know he's not a zombie, but he looks like one. But that wouldn't stop the Speed Force, since later Barry Allen returned in the Flash Rebirth storyline, becoming the new Black Flash, until Professor Zoom took the title after his corpse was raised in the Darkest Night storyline. Before we move on to number 9 though, if you could do me a huge favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons, that would be amazing. It really helps us out against the eternal struggle of the algorithm and lets us know what you want to see more of. Thanks. Now, let's continue. And at 9, the Black Racer. However, Black Flash was not the first embodiment of death that speedsters had to deal with. Being introduced in New Gods number 3 in 1971, Sergeant William Walker became a servant to Darkseid after being paralyzed during the Vietnam War. But while sharing the same concept, the thing that makes these two speedster death gods different is their abilities. While yes, both are speedsters, the Black Racer possesses the unique power to merge with a host, corrupting that person and enhancing their abilities. He did this with Bart Allen and used that to kill Darkseid during the Darkseid War storyline when the Anti-Monitor had taken control of the Black Racer. Black Racer also kills Darkseid in Final Crisis in place of Barry Allen and Wally West. This was pre-Flashpoint though. Plus, his costume just looks pretty badass if you ask me. This is the kind of evil speedster that you should cosplay. Damn, that would be cool. And at 8, Johnny Quick. Johnny Quick of Earth 3 is an evil version of the Flash who's a member of the Crime Syndicate, basically the Justice League, but evil. Same people, but different alignment. Jonathan Allen was once a high-profile criminal, but got cornered on the roof of Star Labs. While on the roof, Jonathan got struck by lightning, which also shattered the roof. John and his girlfriend fell through that roof, with John landing in a load of chemicals which ended up granting him his super speed. And his girlfriend, Rhonda, ended up gaining powers similar to that of the Atom. Looking at images of this guy, you can tell that he's nuts. Like, he looks like if the Green Goblin became a speedster. Like if Norman got the Carnage symbiote and then got super speed, this is what that would look like. Absolutely bonkers. However, when fighting against the Injustice League of Earth Prime, Johnny underestimated Captain Cold. See, he had managed to disarm Cold, but the gun was also voice activated, which allowed Snart to remotely freeze Johnny's leg and then kick it, shattering it. Johnny tried to crawl away, but was killed thanks to Alexander Luthor stealing his powers and then getting his neck snapped. That's gonna leave a mark. And at 7, Kingdom Come Flash. Wally West from Earth 22 is weird to me since it feels so backwards, everything does. In the Kingdom Come universe of Earth 22, Wally West received his speed through unknown means, but nonetheless he still became the Flash. And when Superman retired, Wally kept going, but he kept going and never stopped, running from scene to scene, disaster to disaster, never taking a break. Before this, however, he ended up having a daughter, who got her speed genetically and became Kid Flash. However, this is where it gets weird to me. His children were named Iris West and Barry West, and it sets me on edge, because like they're supposed to be older than him, and then Wally is supposed to inherit the Flash mantle. It's weird. Not to mention that this time, Barry and Iris are actual biological siblings, which only makes all the memes about the Arrowverse even worse at this point. But considering Wanda and Pietro from the Ultimate Universe, it's nothing new for comics. Gotta love them Game of Thrones-esque love stories, am I right? Okay, well in this universe the kids don't actually end up dating, but you know what I mean. And at 6, SAVITAR. Yes. As a fan of the Arrowverse, I felt the need to include one of the most interesting evil speedsters on the show. SAVITAR, while sharing the name with another evil speedster from the comics, actually is revealed to be a time remnant of Barry Allen in the show, being more of a future Flash than SAVITAR. Honestly, he's a combination of both. His story though is very confusing, in essence making himself a paradox. In the post-Flashpoint Arrowverse timeline, SAVITAR comes back from the future to kill Iris West before her and Barry get married. This causes Barry to create as many time remnants as possible, which is basically a clone of himself, in order to stop him. But SAVITAR kills all of them except one. The one he spares then gets shunned by the rest of Team Flash for not being the real Barry Allen, even though he's still technically the real Barry. It's weird. So in an act of fury, the time remnant runs back in time, creating a new identity for himself as the first speedster and the god of speed known as SAVITAR, and then somehow gets his face badly burned. I feel like I need to return him to Papa John's. When he fails at killing Iris, however, he tries to scatter himself across time to become immortal, but is stopped by Team Flash and is shot in the back by Iris, which lets the paradox catch up. Season 3 was weird, man. It's nothing compared to Season 7 though. Halfway through into number 5, BIZARRO Flash. When BIZARRO 3 found himself infused with radiation from a blue sun, he got the power to replicate himself as well as create other BIZARRO life forms based upon the likeness of abduct people from Earth, which is gonna have a ton of legal repercussions, but whatever. He uses this power to create a cube-shaped Minecraft-like Earth he calls Bizarro World. One of the inhabitants he creates for it is Bizarro Flash. The post-crisis Bizarro Flash is morbidly obese and is super slow, which is just ridiculous. But for some reason, he can also fly at the speed of light, apparently, which also doesn't make any sense, but hey, it's comic books, what are you gonna do? Some versions of this Bizarro can still run fast, but get winded easily, so they don't pose much of a threat. Certainly not against the likes of someone like Kingdom Come Flash, who never stops running. This version of Bizarro Flash also has a line of mustard for a logo instead of a lightning bolt, although I do have an odd craving for hot dogs now. And at 4, Leah Nelson. Leah Nelson from Earth 9 is a very different version of the Flash, to say the least. On her Earth, Leah is the second most recognized person on the planet. She was an instant celebrity since her parents were the first people to visit Jupiter, her mother was a bit of a hero herself, and her father was a Nightwing agent, even if he wasn't very good at it. But Leah is a being of light, and once able to control this power, she took on the moniker of the Flash. Since she is a being of light, Leah is also able to travel at the speed of light, basically making her a speedster without having a connection to the Speed Force, which I admit may frustrate some of you with her being on this list, but I thought it was interesting and is certainly a weird version of the Flash. Leah also has a whole host of powers, including superhuman speed, metamorphosis, where she uses light to create solid holograms and alter her appearance, energy construct creation, allowing her to make solid objects out of light, energy projection, which is just beams of energy, and energy absorption, which in essence makes her immune to any form of light, including lasers. Just think of energy as lightning and then boom, even more flashlight. Getting close to the end at number 3, Hot Pursuit. What is the Flash known for? Running really fast, right? Running so fast that he can actually end up beating instantaneous teleportation. So what's the deal with this Flash? Being first introduced in The Flash Volume 3 number 6, Hot Pursuit is a version of Barry Allen from another universe who came to warn his counterpart about an impending disaster, which ends up being Flashpoint. The difference? This Flash doesn't run. Instead, he has a Speed Force powered motorcycle called the Cosmic Motorcycle. Yeah, his cowl is a motorcycle helmet and his suit is in black and white. This version of Barry Allen doesn't seem to have a physical connection to the Speed Force, only being able to access it through his motorcycle. Unfortunately though, Hot Pursuit dies 6 issues later in The Flash Volume 3 number 12 as a part of the Road to Flashpoint event. The moniker of Hot Pursuit would later be adopted by Patty Spivot after she stole his gear from the Central City Police Department. Penultimately in number 2, Speed Demon. I remember a while ago I mentioned an amalgam universe that combined DC and Marvel characters, and I mentioned the Iron Lantern, a combination of Hal Jordan and Tony Stark. Well, today I present you Speed Demon, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Blaze Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon. The demon component of Etrigan was formerly Jay Garrick before the Night Spectre stole Jay's soul. The Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve him in his attempts to collect souls of the most pure and the most corrupt. Blaze Allen refused. So in an attempt to persuade him, at his wedding, Night Spectre stole Iris's soul. Blaze then accepted the bond, hoping to get Iris back, or at least to ensure her safety. Speed Demon speaks only in rhymes, but is a speedster with a flaming skull head that can also breathe hellfire, which is pretty dope. Wally West, which is an amalgam of Wally West and Danny Ketch, was the next Speed Demon, who accepted the power in order to help his uncle get Iris back, because he still didn't get her back after he accepted the power. Finally, coming in at number 1, the Crash. Oh my god. Coming from Earth C-, this Crash is the fastest animal alive, and a member of the Just a Lot of Animals group, which is this world's Justice League. On Earth C, everyone is some form of animal, and it's probably the most ridiculous thing that you could ever read. While his real name is unknown, the Crash is this universe's Flash. And not only that, but he's actually a turtle. The classic tortoise in the hare scenario. Slow and steady wins the race to get super speed and a connection to the Speed Force apparently. And I'm not even kidding, he fights against characters with names like the Weather Weasel instead of the Weather Wizard. That's hilarious! I love it so much! The Crash was first introduced in Captain Carrot and His Amazing Zoo Crew number 14, which also features superheroes like Wonder Wabbit, that's actually how it's said, Aquaduck, Batmouse, and apparently not a Batman who is literally a bat for some reason, the Green Lambkin, and not the Green Lantern, and my personal favorite, the Green Sparrow, along with a load of other ridiculous names like The Item. I suggest you go check these out if you're looking for a laugh because oh my god, this had me cackling. It's great. And at 10, Future Flash. The Future Flash is certainly a powerful version of Barry, but he's not really from another reality, but from an alternate future that he wants to prevent from happening, hence why he's at number 10. The Future Flash is a version of Barry Allen from the future who blamed himself for the death of Wally West. So in an effort to correct that mistake, he tries to prevent this tragedy by killing people. Yeah, he starts killing his enemies to gain enough speed to travel back in time. He starts by killing Gorilla Grodd with like a little microbomb that he phases into his head, and then eventually he kills enough people that he can travel back in time to kill one final person, himself. His goal this whole time was to travel back to before Wally dies and kill his old self, preventing any of this from happening. At least that's what he thinks is gonna happen, which is honestly a pretty awful plan if you ask me. But based on how he killed his entire rogues gallery, essentially in order to gain enough speed to travel back in time, makes him seem pretty damn powerful, and honestly, really scary. Like, if you're willing to kill another version of your past self, or whatever it is, okay, you need some therapy or something. I mean, it still sounds like a paradox to me, like I don't think you could actually kill yourself, but hey. And at 9, Kingdom Come. Wally West from Earth 22 is really powerful, but it comes with a major downfall. In the Kingdom Come universe of Earth 22, Wally West received his speed through unknown means, but nonetheless he still became the Flash, obviously. When Superman retired though, Wally kept going, but he kept going and never stopped, running from scene to scene, disaster to disaster, never taking a break. This ended up somehow just making it so that he could never stop running, having to constantly run as fast as he could, resulting in appearing to everyone as just a red blur, classic Flash style. But while this is powerful, he literally cannot stop, so there isn't really much benefit to it. However, he didn't end up killing himself or traveling back in time to kill himself, so you know what, in my books he's more powerful than Future Flash, even if he can't stop running. I mean, like, at least the cops or death can't really catch him that way, right? Like, do you think like as he gets older, like he slows down, like to a point where he shouldn't be able to stand, but he's still running as fast as like your typical 23-year-old jogger, but like he can never stop? And it ain't Mercury Flash. Mercury Flash is a robotic version of the Flash made by Dr. Tornado as a member of his Metal League. The robot uses a mercury-based physiology, whatever that means, that makes it able to somehow channel the Speed Force. I don't understand how this man not only learned about the Speed Force, but was able to replicate or siphon it using mercury or whatever, but who cares? It's comics. It doesn't need to make sense as long as it advances the plot. First being introduced in the Multiversity Guidebook #1 in March 2015, this version of the Flash can do everything the normal Flash can do powers-wise. Because, you know, he's a robot, he can't really do, human-like activities. And has the added advantage of, you know, being a robot, so he doesn't really fear death. Not only is it not coded into him, but he also is just straight up being able, you can repair him. This version of the Flash hails from Earth 44, and honestly I kinda wish I was him. No responsibilities, only running super fast. That's the dream. And at 7, Black Flash. The actual physical representation of death for all speedsters, and honestly maybe a couple other people, but they just don't see him coming. Black Flash is the Grim Reaper of the Speed Force. Making his first appearance in The Flash Volume 2 number 138 in 1998, he was seen before the deaths of several speedsters, including Barry Allen, Johnny Quick, and Bart Allen. He also tried to return Wally West to the Speed Force, but was unsuccessful, taking Wally's girlfriend Linda Park instead. I mean, like, based on past experiences, Wally, feel like he did you a favor. But since he was unsuccessful the first time, Black Flash returned to try to take Wally again, freezing time for everyone who didn't have a connection to the Speed Force, which is a total dick move. Like, first you take my girl, and now you're still trying to get me? Like, bro, at least give me my girl back. But thanks to the combined efforts of multiple speedsters, including Jay Garrick, Max Mercury, and Jesse Quick, Wally was actually able to race Black Flash to the end of time, causing death to apparently have no meaning, which I mean doesn't really make total sense, because as long as someone is still living, death would still matter, but oh well. It's comics, like I said. But that didn't stop the Speed Force, because later Barry Allen returned in the Flash Rebirth storyline, becoming the new Black Flash, until Professor Zoom took over the title after, you know, he was raised in the Blackest Night storyline. Yeah, there's been a lot of Black Flashes. And at 6, Darkseid War. What's more powerful than a speedster death? What about actual Death as a speedster? That's right, in the Darkseid War storyline, Barry Allen becomes the host for Death, also known as the Black Racer. Through Barry, Black Racer kills Darkseid and Barry fights off Black Racer, escaping from his grasp. Barry runs away, but the Racer gives chase, staying mere inches behind him. When Black Racer catches up to Barry, he explains that he must have a tether. If he doesn't, the entire world will end and everybody will die. He shows this world to Barry, and Barry accepts the power. He has to kill someone though to let the universe continue to live. So then he appears in front of Iris. As he does, the Black Racer bursts out and tries to kill her, but Barry once again frees himself from the manifestation of death, but this time using his own weapon to kill him. Killing Black Racer seemed to be the answer, but instead, Barry Allen had freed Death. And since it no longer had a tether, it wiped everyone out. Yeah, Death isn't as cool and collected as the one from Supernatural. But luckily this was all happening inside of Barry's head. So when he comes to, he accepts the responsibility of Death and becomes in essence just the Grim Reaper, the last thing that anyone sees before they die. And honestly, that's pretty damn powerful if you ask me. And also, kind of my dream job. Halfway through into number 5, SAVITAR. As a fan of the Arrowverse, I feel like I need to include one of the most interesting evil speedsters in the show. SAVITAR, while sharing a name with another evil speedster from the comics, is actually revealed to be a time remnant of Barry Allen in the show. Being more of a future Flash than SAVITAR, I mean he's kind of both. It's weird. He also didn't come back to kill Barry, he came back to kill Iris. His story is pretty messed up. In essence, making himself and having like a classic chicken and the egg scenario. Which came first, SAVITAR or the Time Remnant? Neither, they both kind of made each other. In the post-Flashpoint Arrowverse timeline, SAVITAR comes back from the future after escaping a Speed Force prison to kill Iris West before her and Barry can get married. This causes Barry to create as many Time Remnants as he possibly can because he is willing to kill himself in order to save Iris. Yeah, the SAVITAR kills them all because he's a future version of Barry. He knows what's gonna happen. Except he spares one. The one he spares is gonna become SAVITAR because he gets shunned by the rest of the team for not being the real Barry Allen, even though he is still the real Barry Allen. Whatever. So in an act of fury and rage, the Time Remnant runs back in time, creating a new identity for himself as the first speedster and the god of speed, known as SAVITAR. But the suit he wears also allows him to travel at basically instantaneous speeds, and it's also existent and non-existent at the same time. And the show version of the Flash has not been able to do that at this point. He's not been able to travel basically instantaneously, even in recent seasons. And he's only visible to other speedsters. Normal people can't see him, at least while he's trapped inside the Speed Force prison. I don't think they really went over that afterwards, after he got out. But hey, whatever. And at 4, Speed Demon. Recently I wrote a list about the Amalgam universe that combined DC and Marvel characters, and the Speed Demon comes from this universe. A combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Barry Allen was a circus daredevil who sold his soul to become the first Speed Demon. The demon component of Etrigan was also formerly Jay Garrick, because Night Spectre stole Jay's soul, which is kind of rude because that's my thing. Anyway, the Night Spectre approached Blaze and asked him to serve in his attempts to collect the souls of pure and the most corrupt, and I mean also again that sounds like a pretty sweet deal, but Blaze Allen refused. So in an attempt to persuade him, I guess in a way persuade him, at his wedding night, Night Spectre stole Iris's soul, and then he asked Blaze to do it, and then he did because he wanted to get his girl back, or at least make sure that she wasn't going to be killed or something. But I mean yeah, that's not how that works. Speed Demon also speaks only in rhymes, and whenever I do that people get mad at me, but I don't care. This is a speedster with a flaming skull head that can also breathe fire. So yeah, Wally West, which is an amalgam of Wally West and Danny Ketch, was also the next Speed Demon who accepted the power in order to help his uncle get Iris back. But I mean come on, a fire-breathing, speeding ball of fire and lightning? That sounds incredibly badass. Getting close to the end in at number 3, GODSPEED. August Hart is the former detective partner of Barry Allen. August was the only witness to Barry's accident that turned him into the Flash. While going after a criminal organization known as Black Hole, August was struck by lightning during a Speed Force storm in Central City. So, after this, August became the ruthless vigilante known as Godspeed, and got his revenge on the one who he suspected to be his brother's killer. He had given up on the justice system since his brother's killer had gone free, and with his newfound power, had the ability to become judge, jury, and executioner. August realized after he had gotten his powers that he also had the ability to steal other speedsters' speed, though for a time could only do it by killing them. He practiced this skill enough to be able to do it non-lethally, but like, you know, he still was killing people. So with his new godlike speed, August was able to move so fast that he could create duplicates of himself at any given time, allowing him to give the illusion that he and Godspeed were two different people, which is pretty damn sick, considering the alternatives are Speed Mirage and Time Remnant, which aren't really the same thing. And I mean, the CW show also did kind of adapt this with all the Godspeed clones during the Godspeed War storyline, which I mean they should have went into more, but oh well. Penultimately, in at number 2, Red Death. Red Death is a speedster that is an evil combination of Batman and the Flash, which already sounds terrifying, but wait till you hear his story. The Bruce Wayne of Earth 52 started off fighting crime with Robin, but Robins kept dying left, right, and center. So understandably, Batman got darker and darker, becoming more extreme with his methods, which honestly just seems more realistic to me. Aside from him just, you know, quitting fighting crime. This eventually leads him to Barry, who he tries to get speed from. But Barry refuses to give Bruce his Speed Force powers. So Batman uses various rogues' weapons to fight him and knocks him out. Once Barry was unconscious, Bruce tied him to the front of a cosmic, treadmill-powered Batmobile and drives them both into the Speed Force. And then when entering the Speed Force, Barry and Bruce end up fusing together into a Batman with super speed, while Barry's mind was trapped inside Bruce's body. And you know, of course Bruce gets to drive. He also then gets a visit from the Batman Who Laughs, and who they try to recruit him into conquering the multiverse. Anyway, eventually he gets exposed to a large dose of positive energy, which allows Barry Allen to take control. Gotta love those positive vibes. And then he helped in the fight against the Dark Knights, but also the positive energy kills him, and Red Death explodes. Finally, in at number 1, White Lantern. While Barry Allen became a White Lantern at the end of the Blackest Night storyline, he became in essence a god. I described this in the most powerful Green Arrows list, but hot damn do these dudes have some sweet powers. They can use any color from the spectrum of light, since white light is just a combination of all the others. I'm sure you've seen the album cover, or at the very least the Eevee version of the album cover, and you know, the White Lanterns also have power over life, including the ability to duplicate their rings and resurrect people. Basically anything you think of, they can do it. It's absolutely insane. The White Lanterns are basically God, but with many different avatars. White energy blasts, force field generation, energy constructs, energy twins, ring duplication, mind alteration, wormhole generation, time travel, invisibility, resurrection, just to name a few. Yeah, it's so overpowered that I'm surprised that DC didn't just explode after that. Like, imagine you could play as like a White Lantern in Injustice, but like an actual White Lantern, not like a recolored Green Lantern. Oh, damn.
Number 10, Oliver Queen. During the Elseworlds story in CW's Arrowverse, we learned that Oliver Queen and the Flash have swapped bodies, or rather roles. Everyone seems to think that Oliver is Barry and that Barry is Oliver. Initially, although both heroes struggled to fit into the other's role, eventually the two are able to figure out what makes the other such a great hero and channel some of their energy. Oliver himself struggles as the Flash, but even when he's running into walls and misfiring Speed Force lightning, he still manages at least to catch the bad guy, which is pretty impressive. Even when he's doing a bad job, it's not that bad. And after Barry takes him under his wing, he actually becomes a pretty decent Flash by the end of the storyline. Considering how many people love Oliver Queen when it comes to the Arrowverse, with him being sort of the ultimate main character, because, you know, it's the Arrowverse, it wouldn't surprise me if people preferred that Queen remain the Flash, as then he'd get cool super speed powers permanently. Number 9, the Accelerated Man. From CW's Arrowverse in The Flash, we hear of an alternate version of the character from Earth 19. We don't have too much information information on this alternate version of the Flash, but it has been suggested that they are a speedster who instead goes by the name the Accelerated Man. Earth 19's H.R. Wells, the alternate version of Star Labs director, founder, and lead scientist Harrison Wells, claims that he played a key role in helping the Accelerated Man to capture all of the metahuman criminals from their world at once, which honestly sounds pretty impressive. The Accelerated Man is also a speedster from the comics who hails from Earth 19, although that version of the character is a little bit different, though they do look pretty similar to the CW version. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, really quick, before we get there, make sure you click that like button. It does help us out and it lets us know that you want more good Flash content like this. Number 8. Iris West II. Iris currently goes by the name Impulse in the comics. She is the daughter of Wally West and Linda Park, who initially was lost when the New 52 started up. However, her dad remembered her existence and the family he had once had from the previous continuity, and he would end up seeking out Iris and her twin brother Jay. In the previous continuity, it was suggested that Iris could even grow up to become faster than her dad, Wally West, who is known for being one of the fastest speedsters of all time. So that's pretty impressive. However, in the current continuity, I don't think this has been established as something that could happen in Iris's future. However, we do know in Iris's future that she could go on to live to do her father, the Flash, proud, and while not an explicit version of the Flash, we have seen into a future in issue 771 of the Flash, where she goes on to become the new Kid Flash. And because I love Iris so much, I'm gonna count it because I just love her as a character. Number 7. Eobard Thawne. I know what you're thinking, hey, but isn't Eobard Thawne known as a villain and the Reverse Flash? In the main continuity, yes, but in the Dark Multiverse Flashpoint story, Eobard actually becomes the Flash, and what's more, he kinda becomes a hero as well. A dark, twisted, and messed up hero, hell-bent on eradicating competing heroes of that universe, but a hero nonetheless. He succeeds in defeating Barry Allen and Flashpoint Batman, aka Thomas Wayne, and then sets out to change the world, shaping it into his version of perfect. This involves preventing Batman from ever becoming Batman, and instead creating his own superhero team. Number 6. Impulse. Okay, so Impulse isn't really the Flash. He's more associated with the Kid Flash name than the main Flash name, though he did at one point dress up as the Flash in order to buy time for Wally. Unfortunately, his very brief time impersonating the Flash wearing the costume was cut very short, as at this time Bart was without his powers and ended up being killed. Of course, this was still a very moving story involving Bart, who is probably the most loved member of the Flash family, with really only Iris and Jay West offering any potential competition there, in my opinion. Those two are a couple of super lovable cuties as Wally and Linda's kids. Also, despite being young, Bart Allen is still super powerful when he is powered. He can time travel, hop dimensions, has been shown to be fast enough to fend off and even beat Godspeed, and he can phase. Number 5. Jess Chambers. Jess Chambers is the Flash from Earth 11, who in Future State ended up moving to Earth 0, heading there to help at first, but deciding to stay on Earth 0 permanently. They ended up joining the Future Justice League, and while working alongside their teammates, we saw Jess do something pretty cool. Something I'm not sure I've ever seen another Flash do before, but if you have, I guess let me know in the comments. The Justice League seem to be trapped in another world by the White Martians, who have taken their place and aim to conquer Earth 0. Flash uses their Speed Force senses to determine, based on the vibration of the Earth that they are on, that it's not actually the Justice League's homeworld, it's not Earth 0. In order to take the League home, Jess then shares their power with their teammates, also granting them a connection to the Speed Force and Super Speed temporarily, allowing them to travel through the multiverse together and all return home. Also, for those wondering, Earth 0 is the number for future states, reality, and Earth. Number 4. Jay Garrick. Jay Garrick was the first Flash. He actually gained his superpowers from his own experiments. He might not have been the fastest Flash initially, considering that he could travel near the speed of light, which in retrospect now isn't actually that fast compared to some other Flashes, but back in the day that was considered to be pretty impressive. Before we got as crazy as being able to duplicate yourself with the Speed Force and travel back and forth through time, Jay was also known for being a brilliant scientist. He has even been called on in the past in the original comic series to use his scientific skills to help save the world. And when it comes to making all the right calls, Jay is definitely one of the wisest Flashes that we have in the comics, as he has the most experience. Jay is also one of the best Flashes because, well, he doesn't really overstay his welcome. He ended up retiring as the Flash but would still make appearances here and there when he was needed, which honestly I think is the best you can do, because as a Flash you kind of can go back into the Speed Force and like pop back out again, but you don't need to stay forever. Unlike some Flashes. Looking at you, Barry. Number 3, Red Racer. While his existence in the comics was a bit short-lived, Red Racer is definitely one of the coolest Flashes that we've ever got to meet. He was not just a science nerd like so many of the Flashes are, but was also a comic book nerd. The best kind? I think so. He made sure to get President Superman of Earth 23 to sign his Superman comic upon meeting him. Red Racer is the fastest man alive on Earth 36 and part of that world's Justice 9 team. He ended up joining a multiversal sort of Justice League that included Earth 23's Superman, Earth 11's Aquawoman, and Captain Carrot of Earth 26. This team is known as Justice Incarnate in the comics. Red Racer also did not hesitate when he had to give up his life in order to save others, and he also proved how intelligent he was at that time when he rapidly built a receiver version of Ultima Thule, a sort of interdimensional spaceship that is made out of frozen music. Doing so cost him his life, but enabled the rest of his teammates to save the day. Oh, and he also did it really fast, and it's supposed to be a thing that takes like thousands of years. And I'm pretty sure he also did it without like any blueprint. He just was like, yeah, I'll just build it. I'll die, but I got you guys. So cool, what a hero. Number 2, Red Death. Because Batman basically does everything better, including being the Flash. Or well, this is the Dark Multiverse and the Dark Knights, so I guess I should say he does it the worst in terms of him being a bad guy, but he also does it the best in terms of what he is capable of. Bruce Wayne as the Dark Multiverse Flash, the Red Death, can actually use his Speed Force powers to create constructs. If you are struck with one of these bat-like constructs, you'll end up withering to the point of death, aging thousands of years almost instantly. So this is probably the most deadly version of the Flash that we've ever seen in the comics. Red Death hails from Negative Earth 52, back when there were negative Earths and we had a dark multiverse. RIP Dark Multiverse. Number 1, Wally West. Obviously, who is one of the best Flashes around? None other than Wally West, the once new version of the Flash everyone fell in love with and then were deprived of for years. However, Wally is back now, and not in a way where he's forced to be a villain or to be miserable. He actually gets to be a hero and be happy in the comics, which is really all most Wally fans have wanted for him and his family this whole time. Wally West is the nephew of Iris West and therefore by marriage Barry Allen. For a time, Wally operated as Barry's sidekick, Kid Flash, but would eventually become a hero all his own. Wally is considered to be one of the fastest Flashes to have ever existed, and he also seems to have learned somewhat from Barry's and the other Flash's mistakes in the past, making him sometimes a little bit wiser by comparison. At least a bit wiser than Barry.